Hi, welcome to Glitter Glue and Fairy Dust. This is Amy. Today we are going to make a stunning Christmas wreath. So to start this wreath, you'll need a 14-inch wreath form and 2 packages of the Dollar Tree garland. All my supplies I got from the Dollar Tree. Basically, you'll just wrap the garland around the wreath. You'll use one package for one side and the other package for the other side. And you wrap it pretty close. Again, you want it to look a little furry when it's through. And because the garland is wired, you just basically secure it with the wire. You don't have to use glue. Once you've covered your wreath form with the garland, then you can start attaching the ornaments. Now I got 3 packages of ornaments. I got 1 package of large ornaments and then 2 different packages of small ornaments, although they're the same color scheme. I really like this rose gold, pink and gold colors for Christmas this year. So I am using all of those colors for this wreath. Not just in the ornaments, but also in the flowers and the greenery that I use. Now when you're attaching your ornaments to the wreath, although it looks like I'm going exact one for one here, you don't want it to be a recognizable pattern. Now that will change much more when you get your flowers and everything in, but just beware not to make everything exactly the same so that there's a recognizable pattern. Now you'll notice that I'm not putting any ornaments in the top, third of the, maybe quarter of the wreath. And that is because I'm going to put a bow and flowers up there and it would cover the ornaments. So there's no need to put ornaments up there. So I switched glue on my glue gun to Gorilla Glue, and although it holds really good and I really like that, it does seem to be a little bit more stringy, so I'm not sure if I'm going to use that again. So here's the 3rd package, and as you can see, it's the same color scheme, just a little bit different. And now that I'm on the last package of ornaments, I'm going to pick the wreath up a couple times so that you can see what it looks like when it's sitting up, because obviously you can miss something when it's laying down. So check your placement every once in a while just to make sure that there's no obvious holes or that you haven't missed something. So along with the ornaments, I did get, and you can kind of see them sitting there, I got several picks of the gold poinsettias and the pink and gold poinsettias. And then I got the pinkish gold berry picks and then some of the pink, I don't know, they're kind of a shrubbery. I don't know what they are, but they're like pink. I got a couple of those as well. And all of this, of course, is to taste. You may not want pink, but you could do this exact same thing in just a different color scheme. And at my Dollar Tree, they had several different color schemes. They had some of the blues, and then they also had the typical reds, and then some grays. So you could do this with any color scheme. So once you get all the ornaments on, then it's time to make your bow. And as I've said before, bows are not my strongest suit. So I'm kind of going to show you in real time how this bow came together. I wrapped the gold ribbon around itself over and over and over, and I made it about 18-inch lengths. You can see here I just wrapped it around each other. And then I took a zip tie and just zip tied it together in the middle. Now the reason that I can do it like this and not have to turn the ribbon in any way is because it's the same on both sides, and so that makes it really easy to make a bow like this, because it's all gonna look the same no matter what you do with it. As you can see, there's a little length that kind of sticks out, and I'm going to use that in a moment to cover the zip tie. So I'm going to basically just fold it over itself and zip tie it to the bow that's already been made. Although that's hard to describe, you'll see it in a moment what I'm doing. I'm just kind of fluffing the bow out. Because this is wired ribbon, it is easy to maneuver. You do have to work for it a little bit, but it does maneuver pretty easily. Now you can see I'm going to take that stray piece and I'm going to fold it over itself and tie it to the bow. Now I sped it up because it is pretty long to watch, but you can see what I did. I attached that to itself and then I fluffed the bow again. And then to make the finished part of the bow, I wanted to have some strands coming down. So basically I took the length that I wanted, and I used 2 lengths, and I just doubled that, and then I dovetailed the ends, and that is really hard to describe. I apologize if it doesn't make any sense, but what you can see is I attached the streamers basically to the back with a pipe cleaner, and then I attached it to the wreath. I'm not sure if that made any sense, but you can see what I've done here. Basically just attached all to each other, and then I'm just going to use this pipe cleaner in a second to attach it to the wreath. So obviously you want to do your bow before you do all of your finishing flowers and stuff, because you want to know where your bow is going to sit, or at least that's how I do it. So I got the bow attached, and then I could start putting the flowers and embellishments in. And I did want the longer streamers, but because the bow, or because the ribbon is wired, you can kind of bend it a little bit to look how you want it to look. So obviously you want to pick it up and make sure you like the placement of the bow before you go on, which is what I'm doing here. So now for the flowers, and I just basically took the flowers and cut them off of their picks, and I didn't leave, usually I leave quite a bit of length, but on this I did not leave as much length because I knew I was going to stick it between the ornaments. So basically all I would do is just take a little bit of glue and then stick it down in between where the ornaments are. And I did try to fairly evenly place the flowers so that it was, the equal amount throughout the wreath. So I kind of just, placed them on one side and then the other side to kind of make it look the same. And you are kind of pushing the flowers in, so you're not going to be able to see the whole flower, which is fine because the ornaments are kind of the star of the show here. But as you can see enough of the flower to know exactly what's going on. The other thing that I did do with this wreath that I don't always do is put lights on it. And I just got 2 strings of lights from the Dollar Tree and attached them to it. And I don't know if it's necessary to put lights on the wreath, but because of the sparkle and because it's Christmas, I wanted to have those lights on there. Now I'm starting to place some of the greenery that I got on the top of the wreath, and I kind of wanted it to stick out like you can see here from the wreath. So I did make it fairly long. Again, just kind of checking the placement to make sure that it all looks the way I want it to look. And now is the real fun part. I kind of just wanted to have pieces of greenery just kind of sticking out all over, not to be super obnoxious, but I did kind of cut some of those pieces a little bit shorter and then just kind of have them stick out the bottom a little bit. So I apologize, the whole wreath is not in frame, but I'm just putting, like I said, those pieces kind of sticking out random places throughout the wreath. Checking to see if I like where everything is before I move on to the next thing. Now these picks that I'm using with the berries on them, they have greenery on them as well, and I did use them. Now here's the glitter sticks. I don't know what to call them, but I did use them on both sides of the ribbon. And again, I'm just kind of picking it up to make sure that the placement is good when it stands up. You see I have several rolls of ribbon there. I might use pink and some other colors, but once I got that gold bow, I liked it so much that I didn't want to add anything to it. Currently I'm trying to cut that pick apart and having a hard time doing it, but I do just stick a few of that berry pick in random places. And the greenery does not necessarily match all the other greenery that I have, but I did like it. It was just a little bit of a contrast, so I used it as well. And this is where the individuality comes in. With this kind of wreath, some people may have stopped a few picks ago, may not want to put as much in or more. This is a wreath that you can really personalize to your taste. As you can see, I'm actually putting a lot in. I am actually using more here than I would usually use, but I really liked the way it looks with all of the different ornaments and greenery in it. So, you know, you may want to be even more extra and keep going, and that is where the individuality of these wreaths come in. So now it's time to string the lights, and I used one string for half of the wreath and then another string for the other half of the wreath, and I basically just attached them to the back of the wreath with zip ties, and then I fed the strings through the wreath, and I just basically kind of put them in between the ornaments. There was really no pattern. I just kind of strung it through where it would sit, and then make sure that I had enough to go all the way up to the top of the wreath. Here you can see there we go. Just wanted to make sure I got my zip tie through the wreath form, obviously, so that it will have something to attach to. So you do need to put your zip tie basically through one of the rungs of the wreath so that it's sturdy, and then just cut the ends off once you attach it. Now I made sure that I put my on and off switches down at the bottom, kind of right next to each other, so I could turn them on and off easily. And then you can see the lights are on. When while I put the lights in the wreath, I did have them on so I could kind of see where the placement was. And I'm not going to use lights every day, but I do like having that option. Now you can see I'm cutting some of those gold berries now that I've got everything attached, I'm going to put just a few of the gold berries on. And you can also see I leave the green stems on all of my flowers when I cut them off the picks. I always leave the leaves on because I like the greenery. The great thing about getting this wreath as full as it is, it actually, some of the berries and some of the picks, they actually just slid right in. I didn't have to use as much glue since after the ornaments. You know, the flowers kind of stuck in a lot easier. Apparently, I am not done yet. Bear with me. We're going to put a few more things in here. These are the gold poinsettias. And I'm actually sticking those down more towards the bottom or the underside of the wreath. And as you can see, I'm not really having to use glue. I'm just sticking those in. And they won't necessarily be seen while the wreath is up, but they will fill any of those holes from the very bottom. So it wasn't a necessary step. However, I like the way it looks. So you could skip this step if you wanted to, but I did feel like it just finished the wreath out just a little bit. So just a few more things and we are done with this wreath. I absolutely love the way this wreath turned out. This is actually the wreath that I'm going to be using for my front door. I usually give wreaths away, but this is the one I'm going to keep for my house this year. And here it is. This is what it looks like. This is on the inside of my house, but this is what the wreath looks like finished and with the lights on. It's absolutely stunning. I just want to thank you for stopping by today. I sure appreciate you coming. I'd love to ask you to subscribe and like if you haven't already. And I hope to see you again next week.